Hey YouTube, it's David from mdbootstrap.com. In this video, you're gonna learn how to build a TicTacToe game, and you're gonna see how this fairly simple game to draw on a sheet of the paper might be a little bit challenging to code when it comes to programming. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so let's start with a basic setup. So I'm gonna open this empty folder in Visual Studio Code, and let me maximize it. And now we're gonna create a bunch of files. So obviously we have index.html. Now, if you bind this exclamation mark and then hit the tab on your keyboard, then using emmet, you're gonna get this HTML structure. So let's call it TicTacToe game. And we're gonna get back to this file in a second. Now let's create styles, CSS. Obviously we're gonna keep our styles over here, and then we're gonna have scripts, JS. Now let's get back to index.html and let's connect our style sheets. So we have styles here, and at the bottom of our body, let's do script, src, and then scripts. JS. Okie dokie. So this is set up. Now I'm gonna use Live Studio. So this is a Visual Studio Code extension, and I'm gonna open this. Oh, I said Live Studio. It's called Live Server, obviously, and I'm gonna open this page in a Live Server. And now every time I type something here and save the file, it's gonna. Oh, you didn't see that again. Type something and then hit think and hit the save button. It's gonna refresh it automatically, and the same applies to as well to our scripts and style CSS files. So let's check now whether our scripts are working fine. So let's do something like alert hello world, and now if I save this file, it will refresh my page. So now I know that my files are connected to the HTML correctly. Okay, now let's get back to index.html. So what we want to do now, we want to create a structure for our game. So what we're gonna need probably some kind of container. Let's do it like this. And within this container, we're gonna need a board, right? We need a board to play this game. So let's create, let's use it. Let's do it by ID. And within this board, we need what we need. We need 9 boxes, actually, right? So let's do it like this. Let's do box now hash 0, and then multiplied by 9 times. So this is going to create for us 9 divs. Obviously, we can't see them now here. Oh, we're still having this alert here. Let's save this JS. Now let me give quickly numbers to this box. And as you can see, we are using 0 numerated numbers, right? So the very first box is going to be a number 0 and not 1 as you could expect, but this is like common thing to do when it comes to programming, like arrays or 0 indexed and so on. So just to get used to it. And then finally at the bottom of the page, let's have something. Let's have h1 intro, and let's have something like let's play. Okay, and below I want to have a button. So let's have button with ID reset, or actually restart, because we're gonna restart our game. And let's type restart. So then we're gonna, whenever we hit this button, it should restart our game. Okie dokie. So HTML done. Now let's move to styles. So we're gonna see, so we could see our board. Now we're gonna draw our board using CSS. So let's use variables. So let's have a root. Let's use some color over here. So I'm gonna use something like, I don't know, let's have something I've prepared before, which looks like that. Oh, too many zeros, right? So something like that. And now let's do the following. So let's reset margin to start with. Let's reset padding to 0. Now let's set font of the color using our variable. And font family to, I don't know, something like, yeah, maybe sans serif. Let's don't overthink this. Now, what we also want to do, we want to set a box sizing. So we want to set box sizing to border box. So now, when it comes to calculation for width of our elements within the body, we will be including the margin size and the padding size and the border size. All will be included when it comes to width of certain element, right? So now let's start with H1. Let's say we're gonna have a little bit bigger font size. Let's use rems. And yeah, do we want something else? Yeah, no, not for now. Let's leave it like this. For the container, what we want to do? We want to do padding. We want to do height. What else we want to do? And now we want to do flex, probably. Yeah, let's set its flex. Align item center, justify content center. Okie dokie. And now we would need to do something with our board. So we have our container. Let's open developer tools. Let's get it somewhere here. So this is our container, right? So we just made it to the center, and now let's start working on our board, which is currently empty. So we can see it, as you can see over here. It has 0 by 0, but don't worry, we're gonna take care of it right now. So for the box, let's say no, box will be later, sorry, the first board, right? So board was by ID or class? It was by ID, so let's do board. And for the board, we need to set width to, I want to use 400 pixels because I want my boxes to be 150 pixels each. So 3 in a row will have 450. Okay, and for the box, let me just, yeah, it has to be by class, obviously, because they all have the class. And what we want to do, we want to set this height to 150 pixels, and we want to set width to 150 pixels. And since we can't see it, let's do something like background color to green. So now we can see it, right? So actually, let's reopen this. So we can see we have these boxes here. So this box number 0, box number 1, and so on, right? Yeah, it doesn't look good yet. So what we'll have to do to fix it, we're gonna get back to our board, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna set this display to flex display. And we're gonna do flex wrap. So we want to wrap our content. Once we reach the width of the element, we want to wrap it, right? So we want to wrap it. And that's what's happening right now. We have 150 pixels each, so including borders. So that's why this box sizing is working here. So we have 150 pixels, 3 times 1, 2, 3, and then we wrap to the next row. Okie dokie. Now we want to move also this one to the bottom. So for this one, we will get back to our container, and we're gonna set flex direction to column, and this will move this div and this heading one below the other. Okay, now let's finish up our box. So what we want to do is we want to set display to flags. Now align items center, justify content center. Okay, and now let's add some color to it. So I'm gonna use var color, and what we want to do, yeah, we want to add some content over here. So let's use some X and some O. Okay, so that's how we're gonna play the game. So we will be using this characters here, so obviously we need to enlarge them. So color set, let's change the font size to, I don't know, 5 rem. Let's see. I think we can do it even better, maybe 10. Yeah, I think this is a good one. Let's get rid of this awful green color. So we have it now. Okie dokie. And now, how we can draw our bird? So there are different ways. Let me show you a few of them. So let's do something like this: border, solid, 1 pixel, and we want to reuse the same color. So we're gonna use variable. Now, if you are not familiar with variables, then, oh, by the way, it doesn't work. Hold on, var color. Why it doesn't work? Color is here. Oh, it should be root. Okay, now it's working fine. It's screwed up. Why did we screw it up? It's wrapping. Okay, because this box sizing actually doesn't work, and it doesn't work because probably we have to move it. Yeah, we have to move it to asterisk, so we have to apply to everything, not only to the body element. My bad, sorry for that, but this exactly show you, hopefully to give you the full understanding how does it exactly works, right? So basically, because we didn't have this one, so the width of the element was 150 pixel plus 1 pixel for the border, so it was actually 152, if you check it here. Right, it's 151.98, right, which is 152. And now if we add this this border box sizing, border box, and check this element again, now to have exactly 150 or 149.99, as you can see here. So that's why it's wrapping correctly. Okay, let's get back to what we've been discussing before. So we were talking how we can draw this nice, tic-tac-toe board. So there's basically lines over here, and there are many different ways to do it. I'm gonna show you two. So what we could do, we could possibly take each and every cell, like this one, the first cell, or actually this cell is number 0 to be very precise, and we could just say get this cell, for example, by ID. So we could get this ID 1. Actually, let me show you just to make sure that we do understand. Oh, it's not obviously proper CSS comment. Let me do it properly. And now let's do something like this 1, and we could do something like border bottom 1 pixel, actually solid 1 pixel. Green. Obviously, this is, hold on, this is not a valid ID. Let me check it quickly. Yeah, okay, so the number isn't valid ID. So I changed it to 1. But you got my point, hopefully, right? So we could get this and just draw this bottom line only, and here we would draw the right and the bottom line, and so on. And that we could do with each and every cell one by one. But we don't want to do that, obviously. Let me get back to this one. Let me change it to 1 again, and let's get back to styles. Obviously, you don't want to do it like this, but technically it is possible, and you could solve this problem doing this that way. The other option is a little bit more smart. And this is what we're gonna do right now. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna add border to each and every cell over here. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna just hide these cells or these borders which we don't need. So now for this we want to hide the left and the top one, but actually we're gonna do it a little bit smarter. So for example, as you can see, instead of having this for each and every cell, so like 9 different options, we're gonna try to do it a little bit smarter. So we're gonna use 4, so we'll get this 3 box 1 2 3, or 0 1 2 to be more precise, 0 1 2, and we're gonna hide a top border for them. Then we're gonna get this 1 2 3 from the left, and we're gonna hide the left, and so on and so on. So how to do it in CSS? So we're gonna use box, and we're gonna use first child. So this is quite easy. It's gonna be our first element. Now how to do it for the following boxes? It's very easy. We just do box, and then we're gonna do nth child, and we can then specify that we want to do it for second and third. So now it gets a little bit confusing to, or might be getting confusing for some of you. Let me just finish this top, none, and let's see what's going on. If I only make it working, so now this is gone, boom. And obviously we want to do the same for left and right. And now it might be a little bit confusing, right? Because in CSS, as you can see, we are counting differently. So we're counting 1 2 3, 1 2 and a 3, while in HTML we gave a different numbers like 0 1 2. And this is because more, in many languages like JavaScript, for example, arrays are 0 indexes. So well, it's difficult to be consistent. I do prefer to use it like this, but I fully understand if this might be a little bit confusing to you. But once you put your hands on the keyboard and start, creating more complex projects, you're gonna see how it is. So let me quickly do the following. So let me just copy this one. And let me replace this one with that one, and now we will be changing numbers. So now we want to have 1 and a 4, and 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and a 7, and we want to do border left actually to be gone. Great. Now next will be 7 8 9, fairly easy. And which one we want to remove? Obviously bottom one. And finally, we just need to get rid of the right one, which will have numbers 3 and a 6 and a 9. And then, oops, not bottom, but right. By the way, you can see already interesting thing here that these borders are a bit thicker than this one, and this is because here we have kind of 2 borders overlapping each other, right? So we have border right from X and border left from O. So that's why it's double. And if they overlap, then they are making stronger. Cool. Our board is ready. So the most difficult part, well, maybe not most difficult, but the most CSS difficult part is done. By the way, obviously you could kind of reverse it. So what you could do, we could instead of having border here to all these cells and then hide them, we could do it other way around. So we could get rid of this one, and then we could just add it like this. So we would be just defining this bottom, right? So we could just draw them instead of hiding them. We could just draw them the same way, but let's leave it like this. And now finally, let's do something with our button. So I think it was called restart. We called it restart. So let's do restart. So let's add some paddings, 10 and 20. Let's add some color, white. And this is because we're gonna also add background color, and we're gonna use our var. And the same for border color. Yep. Border radius 5 pixel, font size, 1 rem, and yeah, okay, so this is our button. Now I think I start talking about variables. So let me quickly get back to this one. So in CSS you can use variables. So now if we want to change the color of our board to something more well, let's take something more bluish. See, so we just change, maybe let me do some other example. I'm gonna do something more crazy. So now it's green, right? We change just the one value and it's changed all the properties, so like the variables in programming. Let me do one more thing, a little bit transition. So 200 milliseconds, transform, and let's do restart on hover. Let's do transform, translate y -5 pixels. Restart hover. Oh, I didn't close this one, my bad. Transform. Yep. Okay, so now we see, yeah, let's make it, let's giving a cool effect. How about something smaller? Too small. Let's do it. No, too much. Okay, let's stick to 5. Okay, so now we have our HTML and CSS ready, so it's high time to move to the most important part, which is a logic for this game. Pardon my interruptions for a moment. I just wanted to let you know that besides this video, we also released a lot of different tutorials. Especially you should check our Bootstrap 5 crash course, which we released recently. If you want to watch this video, you're gonna find the link somewhere over here or in the description down below. This is a perfect tutorial for the people who haven't used Bootstrap 5 or Bootstrap at all in the past, as well as for those who've been using Bootstrap for some previous projects and would like to know what has changed. And believe me, a lot has changed in newest Bootstrap 5. This video and this tutorial obviously is completely free for everyone. It's available on the YouTube, and if you would like to support us to help us creating more tutorials and materials like this video and the Bootstrap 5 course, you should also try our MDB UI kit, which is available also for free as an open source. You're gonna find a link to this project down below, so give a try and I'm sure you're gonna love it. So where to start? We're gonna start with boxes, because we need to we need to do something when we click on a certain box. And by the way, let's get rid of this one, X and O. So let's get rid of this, and now we want to, every time we want to click on the box, we want to somehow react on that. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do const boxes, and I'm gonna do document query selector all. So I want to get all of them, and I will be doing something like box. Okie dokie. And now let's do what we need to do. We need to boxes for each. So we want to add event listener for each box. So for each box, we will be basically doing something like this: box add event listener, click, and we want to run a function called box clicked, which obviously doesn't exist yet. So let's create it now. So function box clicked, and console log clicked. So let's check whether it's working fine. So whether we successfully added our event listeners. I'm opening console here. Let's clear our command, our console, and now when we click on it, obviously we want to we want to run the function. But now the problem is that we want to somehow differentiate whether on which box we actually clicked. So we could do something like this. And now we should see something like, where is it? Our console here. We are getting this different boxes, but we want to get, for example, to ID of the box which was clicked. So technically we could do something like target ID, but this is not gonna work. Let me show you that. We're gonna get error because ID is undefined, and the reason is because we don't have access to that from our function. So what we need to do, we will be using function expression instead. So we will do something different. So I'm gonna do const box clicked equals to e. And I'm gonna use arrow function, and now thanks to that, if we do console log e, you're gonna see that we can get access to our ID. So let's open this, but we're gonna get error, cannot access box clicked before initialization. Why we are having this error? So basically the problem, first, how to fix it? The very simple stuff, we need to just move it just above our event listener function, which adds all the event listeners. So we need to put it over here, and now we don't have this error anymore, and everything works as expected, and we can pass our event, so the click event, to the function expression. Now, why we couldn't do it with when this was below? So basically, this is our this is related to the hoisting. So this is some JavaScript specific mechanism, which basically is doing one thing. In other programming languages, in quite old programming languages, basically you always had to first define the function or variable and then use it, right? So you were not able to use it before defining that. In JavaScript, as you can see, you can easily first use the function and then you can define it. And this is possible thanks to hoisting. So what's happening is that that functions are hoisted, which means when the compilers run, it's just taking all the function declaration and the variable declaration and just putting them on our behalf to the top of our file, and then everything works. However, this doesn't work for the function expression because they are not hoisted and we have to do it ourselves. So I hope you do understand this small difference. And now, since we can pass target to our function, we're gonna do target ID, and now we're gonna, as a result, we'll be able to get this ID of box which is currently clicked. Okay. So now let's think of logic. So now we want to put some kind of mark, either O or X, whenever we click on the box. So we will need something like this. So let's create const O, which will equals to O, and let's do const X, which equals to obviously X. Okay. Now let's define who is starting. So we're gonna set that let current player equals to O. Now again, it might be a little bit confusing. Maybe we should do it something like, let's say O sign, and or actually O sign. We are using constant, so we should be using capital letters, or X sign, and now this would be like that. Right, so now you're, I hope you do understand it, that we are referring to the constant, and in future, if we decide to play instead of O and X, playing like, I don't know, 1 and 2s, then we can change it in the future. Well, let's leave it in the shorter version now when it's explained, I hope. Okay, so now what we want to do, let's create another const here, which equals to this ID. const, I'm missing the ID equals eTarget ID. And now we want to do very simple trick. So basically what we will be doing, we're gonna set eTarget and now inner text equals to current player. So what's gonna happen now is that every time I click on it, I'm gonna add HTML to my board, right? So now we know how to add O's to our board. So what we need to do, we need to add a mechanism to switch player every time we click. So let's do it like current player equals current player. If this is all, so this is this condition. I'm gonna say, so if this is true, so if the current player is O, then let's current player equals to X, and otherwise we want this to be O. It might be a little bit difficult. Let me explain it. So this is our if condition. This is assignment. So we are saying something like kind of this. Assign to the current player. Now there is a condition, and this condition is either true or false. And depending whether it's true or false, we will be deciding either X or O. So if the current player is O, then assign X to it. So to get this X here and assign. Or if this is already, it's not O, so then it has to be X, then assign O. So it will be always switching. If this is O, then X. If this is X, then O, right? So you could obviously write it something like this. If current player equals O, then assign current player equals X, else current player equals O, right? So this is exactly the same semantic, I mean the same functionality, just written in a shorter way. So this is how it's gonna work. And now let's see whether it's actually working fine. So O, X, O, X, O, X. However, we can now change our sign, although it was already done. So we need a mechanism to kind of keep off track functionally, programmatically, what has been already clicked. So in order to do so, what we're gonna do, we're gonna create something like a board. So we're gonna create this board, which will be a representation of our game. So let's create const board, and it's gonna be a new array with the size of 9, and we want to fill it with nulls. Null. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to assign every time we click on this cell, we want to add some text into it, and we also will fill the corresponding position in our array. So what we're gonna do, something like, let's do it like board of ID equals current player. Okay, and now let's do one more thing. Let's console log our array, not array board. I mean array, but board. Let's open it, and I hope you will see clearly what we are doing now. So if we put 0 in the 0 cell, we're gonna have 0 over here. The others are null. At the very beginning, they're all null. Now if I put in the last X, I'm gonna see X over here. If I put O here, I'm gonna see O over here, right? So it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this keeps track of our game. And if you would just wrap it, right? So 0, O, X, O. And then in the second row, if we wrap it, we have X, O, O, X, O, O, and then we have X, O, X. So this is kind of, this is one dimension representative of 2-dimension array, which we are having over here. Now, having that in place, we can do a very easy trick. So if not board of ID. So basically we are checking this, whether this is null, and if that's null, and at the very beginning all cells are null, so then only we want to leave a sign over here, and if not, if not, then we don't want to change this. So what does it mean basically? So now I cannot click on it second time, but we also need to add this one here. So we don't want to switch. We don't want to switch the players if we are not able to click. So basically now clicking on the same cell won't work because it's not null anymore. So this is not met, and then basically nothing is happening. Okie dokie. So we have our placing mark in place. So it's almost we are almost there. The only thing which remains is to check whether we have some winner, right? And how to win the game? Obviously we need to check for lines. So we need to have either this line or that or that, or so we have this rows 1 2 3, or columns 1 2 3, or diagonals. So that's where the tricky part actually begins, because now obviously we need to somehow check whether we have 3 in a row. So how can we do that? Again, I'm going to show you two ways to achieve that. So we're going to start with the kind of easier one, though a little bit more complex. I mean, it will take more line of code to write it, but might be a little bit easier to understand. And the shorter one, which will be a little bit more difficult to understand, but we just, the better way to do it. I mean, the more advanced you are, you should do it things a little bit smarter, though still it should be really quite easy to understand to other people who will read your code in the future. So not if, actually, well, I want to call a function now. I'm going to call it check line, and I want to pass current player to this function. Okay, and now let's check this. Let's define this function. So we will do the const check line equals current. Oh, actually, you know what? We don't need to pass current player because current player is here. So this function will also have access to this variable, so we don't need to pass it. Okie dokie. So now what we need to do? Well, we need to first of all think of what are the winning combination, right? So if you think of it, we will have few of them. So for example, the winning combination will be something like 0 1 2, right? 0 1 2. Then we will have this one. So let me do it like this. We'll call it winning combinations, and then we will have them listed. So we have 0 1 2. We have 3 4 5. Then we'll have 6 7 8. Now I know it's a bit confusing, but keep in mind 0, index it. So now we have all rows. Now we want to have all columns. So the columns will be 0 3 6. Then we'll have 1 4 and 7, and 2 5 and 8. So now we have first 3 are rows, next 3 are columns, and now we need finally diagonals. So these are all combination, and 2 4 and 7 6, I guess. So these are the winning combinations. So these are the basically cases we need to take care of. Okay, so let's start with the first one, top line. So for the top line, we're gonna have, let's say, top line, which is in our array is 0 1 2. So if current player equals to board of 0, right? We are checking 0. So we are, let's assume the current player is X at this very moment. Let's assume for X. So let's check, current player is X, so we are checking whether this is X. Now we're gonna use and board of 0 equals to board of 1. So if this is X and this is X, right? Actually, we are checking whether they are same, right? This says whether this and that is same. No, regardless whether it's X or O, it's just checking whether it's same. But the first condition is checking whether it's X, right? So if X equals this and this equals this, and now we'll check whether is this equals that or that equals that. At the end, we will need to check this three condition at always. So board of 1 equals to board of actually, let's use 0. Board 0 is equal to board of 2. Okay. And then let's do console log top line winner. Okay, let's test it. So let's open console here, and we have O here, X here, O here, X here, and O here, and we have top line winner, right? So because they are all the same, let's refresh O, O, and then X. Oops, and then something doesn't work. Oh no, it's I checked the wrong case. Now it doesn't work, right? O-O-X, so this function didn't work. So yeah, so this is basically the logic we can use. And let me now quickly copy this and do it for the other options. But the other thing is that we don't want to do console log here. We want to do just return true. Okay, so here, except for just the calling this function, we'll be doing something like if check line. So if this is true, actually we should probably call it something, not check line, but something like do we have winner or something, but I can't come up with better line, so better name, so let's leave it like this. But basically, so if check line returns true, then we want to end our game, and we would normally pass current player, but we know that the current player is here. So this end game, let me do something like const end game equals right, and then we will have console log for now game ended, right? So with every move we are checking all the possible combinations like here, and all the possible combination. If we've got one of the combination true, we return true here, and then we are ending our game by just writing this game ended. Okay, let me quickly now fix some issues, because apparently there is some error. 25. Oh, yeah, obviously. Okay, and now let me quickly write the remaining conditions. Okay, so I have all the combinations here. So top, middle, bottom line, left, middle, and the right column, and the slash diagonal and backslash diagonal. So if any of this is met, then we return true. And if not, we want to return false. Okay, so now let's test it. So why did we have game ended? Hold on, 1, 2, 3. Game ended. Oh, because we won. I don't know why I'm surprised. Yeah, we have a 1 here. So we have a 1 diagonal. Let's check for other diagonal. Game ended. Great. Then we have lines. It's working. It's working. It's working. And columns and game ended. Okay, so it's working fine. All the combination we just tested. Okay, I'm gonna show you the smarter way in a second, but let's now finish up the game. So let's finish all the remaining stuff which has to be done, and then at the end I will get back to the to this how to do it much smarter. Okay, so now when we have this option, we want to end our game. So we want to do something like, well, let's say X won the game or something like that. However, obviously, there is an option that we can have a draw, because if we do something like this, and here and here and here, oh no, that's actually not a good example. How to make a draw? Like this. Now, which turn? O, X, O. So this is draw, right? So none of the line, we don't have any line, so we need to check that. So how can we do that actually? So let's do it in the following way. I'm gonna add another check here. So we have if check line. Then actually I can get rid of this parenthesis here, then end game. So what I'm assuming is that if this check line is true, then this current player, which we are checking against, will call this end game. And now how to check whether we have a draw? Basically the draw, we can assume that we have a draw if there were no winner before. So we run this as many times as boxes we have in our board game. So if we run it like 9 times and we actually have all box filled, which means none of the box is null, then we will basically, and that means draw, right? So we're gonna use it this array function called sum. So not, so we're gonna do something like this, board. Or actually, you know what? Let me show you. This is gonna be a better way. Console log, and now we want to do something like this: board sum e equals null. So let's open it up. So this basically checks whether we have some null values in our array, right? This is this comparison. We could be checking against any value. We could check whether we have any x's, but we are interested in nulls. So now let me try to play the game so that no one wins. True, because we still have nulls. And finally, we have false, right? We have this false. Oh no, O wins. O wins, okay. But the thing is that we don't have any null in the array, so this is false, right? So this function works as expected. Now we want to check for this, but we want to do an opposite. So if none of the remaining elements in the array is null, then we can call again our end game, but we're gonna pass draw as a parameter. We could basically use anything here. We could use like 0 as a parameter to the end game, but let's leave it to draw. So I'm gonna set result. And what I'm gonna do something like this. I will be using now again this conditional operator called ternary operator. So intro inner text equals to, and now we will check if result equals to draw, then draw, and otherwise we'll do something like current player plus has won. Okay, let's test it. So O has won, that's great. Now let's check for X. X has won, and now let's check for the row, which is the most difficult for me. O, X, O, X, O, draw. Okay, so now all of them are working. However, we still are having some issues here, because when O has won, we can still play, and we don't want to play O, and we can even have a draw by the end of the game. So what we want to do, we want to block the option to continue the game. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna, like we've been doing here, we've been adding this add event listener for each box. Now we'll do exactly the opposite. So let's do boxes for each box remove event listener on click box clicked. Okay, so now we shouldn't be able to continue our game. Okay, so this is working fine. So finally, the last thing to do is to restart our game. So for that, we will be using we need to handle click first on the restart. So let's do const get ID. I have this shortcut here. Let's call it restart. Okay, so we have this button here. And now what we want to do is we want to add this event listener, restart, add event listener, click, restart game. And then we want to add this restart. Let's say over here, const restart game. So what we need to do, we need to reset a couple of things. We need to current player equals to O, like we did at the very beginning. Board fill with nulls. So we want to reset the board. Boxes for each box inner HTML text. Actually, we could use any of those, just make it empty. Now we want to reset this intro text. Let's do this one, and let's set it to let's play. And finally, we need to again add this event listeners to each of the box so we could play again. Now actually, when I think of it, we could instead of doing like restart the game, we should basically change it to something like initiate the game. So we can combine this and that code. So basically, instead of having this here and here, we could just have the function called here initiate the game, and this initiate the game would be doing this and that restart game. So every time we call this one, we will be basically initializing. So let's see if this is working fine. Yeah, so this is resetting our game, so we can restart and play multiple times. I didn't check whether it's X has won. yeah, so this is also being reset, so everything works fine. So I leave it to you to create this initialize the game, and then have it replaced this with this and that. Now I want to focus on this piece of code, which we want to do a little bit more smarter. But before we do that, as you can see, we already have a fully working TicTacToe game. So I hope everything was clear to you. If something wasn't, please don't hesitate to leave the comment down below this video, or to join our Facebook group. You're also gonna find the link in the description down below, so you can join and ask any questions. Please also keep in mind that this video is part of our series where we are building different games in JavaScript. So there will be more than 10, for sure, maybe even 20 different games in JavaScript. So if you don't want to miss any future videos and in a future game, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. And now let's move to the second option how to do it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create another function. I'm gonna just call it creatively check line 2 and then I'm just gonna replace, so this will be check line version 2. I'm gonna replace the call to the current check line, and we will see if this will work exactly the same. So as you've seen here, instead of doing this here line by line and manually defining these schemes, which could be difficult if we consider that we could have like TicTacToe game not 3 by 3 but something like 4 by 4 or something like that, what we could do instead, we could have this scheme defined as basically scheme. Let's call it winning scheme as an array. Actually, I'm gonna call it winning scheme, and we could just define an array of values. Let me do a different. Let me do multi-cursor here. So I want to have here, and I want to have here and here. So now I will just fix it. So we have this winning schemes. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what we can do, we can have a function which will basically go and iterate through all of them and check for each. It will check whether this scheme, this variation has all the same values in the array, right? So having that in place, we can easily add new scheme, new variation, and this function will always check the same. So it's much more flexible and much better looking than that. So how to achieve that? How to do that? Let's start with something like this. Console log winning scheme sum combination and actually let's do it like this, and here we will do, okay, so why does it work? What do we have here in console? Okay, we have this. Let's search for console log board here. Obviously, because we are running this check line and not check line 2, right? So we are not invoking this function. So yeah, so what's going on here? As you can see, we are iterating with this sum through our array, and then we have this combination, right? So as a combination, we call this, we have this 0, 1, 2, right? So the combination is, so we have array of arrays, right? So this is the scheme, and this is the first combination, and then combination this small array of 0, the value is 0, a value of 1 is 1 and 2. So for the last one, for example, this combination is an array with 3 values, 2, 4, 6, right? So now, instead of checking this manually here, what we can do, we can write it in a smarter way, and this will be something like like this. So instead of console log, we will do the same check which we have here. So the current player, let me check one of those examples here. Right, but we will do something different. Hold on. Oh, it's fixing it. I don't want that, but no. So we want to check whether current player equals to board not of 0, but for the first element of our combination. Then board. Then we want to combine this first element with second element and third element, right? Let me do one more thing. Let me show this combination so you could see it. So now what's going on here is that we are again checking our board. How to show you this? All together. Okay. So then again, what's happening here? That we are having this board here and we have this combination. So we are checking whether board of 0 equals to current player, and then board of 0 equals to board of 1, and then board of 0 equals to board of 2. So basically this combination defines our different lines, lines, columns and diagonals. So instead of doing this manually and providing these indexes for the board, we are taking this from this array, right? So we are basically iterating through array of arrays, and then for each combination, we are checking whether in this tree position in our board game, we are having the same values. And if so, then we are obviously returning. Actually, this is not also obvious. So we should do, what we should do is we should actually do something like this. And then we have if, this is our condition, then we want to return true, and otherwise we will return false. So now let's test it. O has 1, X has 1, and the most difficult part here. So as you can see, we managed to change this function and that many if statements into more smarter way of doing this, just by using a certain array and a function which iterates through array and do the logic for us. Okay guys, so it briefly took us an hour to write this code, and now I'm gonna show you how you can deploy this to the web and share it with your friends in less than a minute. Let me show you how. Open console, just type mdb login and provide your username and password. And simply type mdb publish. Now you can adjust default values. I'm just gonna accept them. So press a couple of times enter, and voila. Our project has just been deployed to web and it's available online. So if you want to learn more about MDB CLI, if you don't have it yet installed, navigate to mdbgo.com, where you're going to find more information. This is a free tool from MDB for you, so you can deploy your front-end and back-end application. So we do support JavaScript, jQuery, React, Angular, Vue, but we also offer you a free database, MySQL, as well as Mongo, and we support PHP and Node.js, so you can basically create the full stack application. Okay guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did doing this for you. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to leave the comment down below this video or join our Facebook group. You're also gonna find the link to this group in the description down below. I also strongly encourage you to check our other videos because, as I said, this is a series of video games making tutorials, and we're gonna have at least 10, but probably more than 20 different videos on that subject. We also have many different tutorials and videos on very interesting and fun subjects in regards to programming. So yeah, don't forget to subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and also hit this ring bell so you will be notified, and make sure you not missed any future video related to the game development. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. We'll be right back.